chapter I'm going to show you how to sew the bow in and how to sew the bow as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Look how very cute this is. It just simply gets inserted here into that little seam. How I'm going to do this is, and I always use the same techniques for everything. I'm just going to cut out my option 2. Just cut it away. That's the same way I put pockets on as well. Makes your life a lot easier. You just cut it out. There you go. And now it's easy to see where it needs to go. So if I line this back up, I can exactly see where I need to mark my pleat, right? So I'm just going to mark that side and I'm going to mark that side. Mark that as well if you want. You can go all the way around. And I've marked it. It's actually so simple. Now on the other side you do exactly the same, right? Fold it over so it's neat. Put it on the edges and draw in your square. I've chosen a dark blue silk fabric for my ties. I just had that line around. It's quite light. So what I'm going to do is sew all the way around and then trim it back and iron it. And of course the end here is left open and we can then turn it through that, and also that gets slotted in here, right? Into my back. We're just going to sew all the way around, leave that open. Foot width is okay on this one, doesn't have to be a centimetre, so you can just move it over a bit. Stitch length 2.5. Keep lining it up. When you come to a tip, it's always good to have a really small stitch length, so I've just turned that down a little bit late, but better than not at all. There we go. Go to the tip, and here, very important, go to stitch length 1.5 so we can cut this back sharpish. And then I go back up to stitch length 2.5 and sew it back up on the other side. There we go. And then I'll do the other one exactly the same and just go away and turn it. Now we're ready to do the bow, and I've already done one and turned it. So what we're going to do is cut back our tie pretty sharpish. So I'm just cutting straight across and right to it. That's why we use stitch length 1 or 1.5, so that doesn't fray. And here we do the same. I'll cut it back pretty sharpish where we have a curve. Always when you have a straight edge, that cutting back is not really that important, but here I don't want this to be tight in that area there. That's where we need to cut it back. And then here I just leave it standing. It always makes it a little bit harder when we're sewing something in if this is like really tiny, that if the seam allowance there is really tiny. So I'm going to go up here. Beautiful. Very nice. So next step, take your thumb, open out the end, and then with the thumb in here, just push it through. So wide, we don't really need a fabric turner. And then some people use like little pokers, you know, to poke out the edges or the corners that they've got. I don't really use those. I just use my fingers. Works just as well. It's probably just as quick. And also if there's any sharp point on those, you don't want those poking through. So Now I'm lifting this out from the side, so don't do that and accidentally rip it. That can happen. So always come in a little bit from the side, and then I'm turning it over, come in from the other side. There we go. When I first started sewing, I used to just go right in the tip and try to force that out, and then you get too much pressure on it and you slip and then it rips out. I'm sure that everybody that's been working with tight corners like that has had that experience at some stage. There we go, that's as good as it gets. And if you have a little nose here, you just force it back in so that it's a nice smooth tip like that. And now I'm just going to roll out my edges here. Piece out. Roll them out. Do it right from the start and you don't have any issues. There we go. There we are. Beautiful. I'll do the same on the other one. Now I can put my tie into the pleat, and I think that's going to be really, really nice. Now you want to have obviously the ends here going in opposite directions. Okay, so I'm just going to put them, so I would do that. Right, put that this way and then flip it over and sew it on so that it's right. And I'm putting in a few pins vertical to the seam like this. Do the same on the other side, flip it over, put it in, make sure that it's in line with this one with a check. That's really easy to do, and also it's really obvious if it's done wrong, so I want to make sure that you have it on the right check. If you're not sure you've done it right, yay, all good. So we're going to sew these on first right next to the edge, and then next to that again. Then we move this over and then we stitch it again down from there so that they cannot rip out, and then we can tie them and they're going to be absolutely beautiful. Right, so we're going to do a few stitches right on the edge here. Move it straight back up and go right next to it. That's not going to go anywhere afterwards. Look at that. And cut these threads off so they're not in the way, so it's nice and neat. Take out your pins, and now we're going to put it back under, and we're going to just sew along that line. Does that look good? Just going to put a pin back into this so it doesn't go anywhere. Very good. There we are. Turn it round, and now I'm going to very close to the edge top stitch this over, and that is my little pleat. Whoops. That was off it. Right, lock in your stitches. And all the way down. There we are. Beautiful. Now my tie's inserted. Great. I just have to do the same on the other side. That's it, and we can go on to the next step.